Welcome back to Beyond the Sessions. This is episode 5. Our guest today is our SI mentor, Alyssa Cantu. So, Alyssa, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Right. Actually, I just went to this workshop the other day, and they were telling us, like, instead of describing yourself by the things you do, to describe yourself as, like, who you think you carry yourself as.
Okay.
So lately I've been doing that, right? So I was like, digging deep. I'm like, who am I? Literally,
Yeah.
I'm like, literally, who am I? So, I'm just here. I think I am, a little charismatic sometimes. I'm a little goofy. Sometimes I'm serious, sometimes I'm not. I think I really just give everybody, like, different
Versions
of myself.
Yeah. Well, they say that, like, you're... like, even the way that you view yourself is just the kind of reflection of, like, other people's perceptions, right? Yeah. But let's not go, like...
True.
I'll go down the whole rabbit hole of that. So,
I know, literally.
Tell us about your major.
Oh, yeah. So my major is economics, and I'm getting a minor in data analytics. But most people don't really know what economics is. Most people have the conception that economics is just dealing with money. But not really, to be honest. Economics is just like a social science. Mm-hmm. It's literally just like a throw up of all these disciplines. So yeah, you're getting like philosophy, you're getting a little bit of finance and law, a little bit of accounting sometimes, but like, different aspects of it, different way of tackling it. But we really are just analyzing people, trying to see what decisions they're going to make. If we do this, like, how are we going to influence them to get to what point we want them to get at?
Yeah, that's interesting. So what made you interested in pursuing economics and even adding the data analytics to it?
Right. So actually, I just got asked this the other day, and I, like, literally had no idea. In high school, I was a COVID senior. So that was like the year that you're supposed to take economics. Mm-hmm. And I had already had some interest in it because I was in a business like organization. Uh-huh. So I knew I wanted to go into business. But while we were there, like, we studied different like branches of business, and I did not like marketing. I did not like sales. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, like typically, like when you think of business, like those are the ones.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's totally not me. And then I was like, okay, well, again, I also had the same, like, notions of economics, and I like math. So then I was like, I feel like that makes sense for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like that rolls out. But then I didn't get to take the class because COVID hit. So then I just went into college blindly, and I was like, I had talked to, like, my math teacher at the time, Mr. Kaysen. He was my fave. And he was an economics professor at COS in Visalia. So he told me, because I originally wanted to go into politics. Okay. So he was the one that told me, like, you should become an economics major and then go into law school and then eventually go into politics. So yeah, that was my original plan.
Okay. What's changed since?
So I actually interned with a politician. Nothing was wrong with it. I just wasn't me, honestly. I feel like it was, like, too serious. And that's not really my vibe. Like, I was literally just, like, sitting at an office and then, like, going to events, which the events were cool because, like, we would get everything for free. But other than that, like, I was literally just, like, there, like, pretending like we were going to do something about what they're, like, asking us to do. Mm. And I didn't like that aspect of it. Because it's, like, well, also there's, like, too many issues. Like, let's be so serious. Like, there's too many issues to, like, do everything. And I think it was just, like, overwhelming for me, like, knowing that, like,
You felt like progress. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, no.
Oh, it sounds like you felt like you weren't actually, like, making progress, or, like you said, doing something about the stuff that was being discussed, definitely. Right?
Yeah. And it was, like, a lot about money, too. Like, people would just come up and, like, say that they wanted us to, like, fund them, which, again, I know, like, I understand it, but... And there's, like, a purpose behind it. Like, obviously, there's a need for these people, but I just didn't feel like it was mine.
Yeah, suited you.
Yeah. So, so then I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, and so at the time that you had gotten that internship, so let me speak to that because you were with SI,
yes,
and then took on this internship. And I think this isn't the first time that, the whole point of that is getting experience. And I think How lucky are you to still do that when you're in college? And like, it's one thing, right? You pick a major, you think, I have an interest in this, but what's the reality of this field? And the internship gives you an opportunity to have that experience and like really know if it really suits you, right? Not just on paper, but, right. In reality. And so, you had that experience and then you're like, not for me. It doesn't feel right. So I can pivot from here. As opposed to like, and there's other stories where it's like you graduate and then you go into that field and then you realize it's not for me.
Yeah, no.
So, I'm glad that even though it may be like, I guess the lessons learned from that experience and that you still have the opportunity to pivot while you're still a college student.
Right. No, yeah, I totally agree with that. I like tell that to everybody too. Like I just had a cousin that's a freshman at Fresno State. I'm like, literally take every opportunity that you possibly can. That's manageable. Right. That because it's like you win. Like there would have been no chance of me just like going like straight into there. Like, and I recognize that. Mm-hmm. So now that I'm a senior, like I didn't realize until I was like a junior that. So I wish I would have like utilized it more in my freshman year and sophomore year, but I was all over the place either way, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, sometimes you realize it late, but it's, you're trying to help others avoid the same, I guess, situation. So speaking of opportunities, what made you interested in SI?
Okay, well, so I was a freshman once upon a time, and I was taking Econ 40. Again, I was already an Econ major. I came into Fresno State being an Econ major. So there was a SI leader in there, and then like I think I literally went to like one of his sessions and I was
Crim, right?
What?
Was it Crim? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I was mad because it was raining. It was the week of finals of fall semester back, when it actually got cold. So it was like freezing and it was raining. And I was like, okay, let me go to the learning center because I had only ever been to his office hours before. I had never went to his sessions. Okay. So then I thought that all sessions were in the learning center. So I went to the learning center and then the front desk was like,
he's in the classroom.
And I was already late and I was like running over there and I was like, no. And then they're like, he's in Kremen. And I was like, bro, that's so far.
Yeah.
So then I walked to Kremen. I missed like half of the session. But it was like, it was fun. And like the girl that also was attending, like we like ended up bonding really well and like we worked well together. So I was like, dang, I should have came earlier, But honestly, what drew me towards it was just because like I'm a Leo, so I love attention, okay? And I was like, and the way that he would go up in front of classrooms and like speak to people, I'm like, wait, I could totally do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, and like people would know me in my classes. I don't know, I guess, whatever. That's my thought process.
Yeah.
Like, but that's how I got
You're like, I want to be in front of the class.
No, literally. I was like, I want to speak. So, because I would not speak in my classes, which is like, I feel like something that people like wouldn't expect from me, but like I don't talk in class like ever, and like until like I got into like upper division and stuff. But like I would never talk to my class like in class. So I was like, this is a way that people are gonna know who I am. Yeah. And then, and then I applied. I think like 2 semesters after or something because I think it was a sophomore. So. Okay. Yeah, I waited a semester and then I literally remember I called my parents and I was like, I want to be an SI leader. And then they were like, what is that? And I was like, I don't know, it's like a tutor.
I still remember your interview. It was online.
I know, yeah, literally.
So that obviously, you got hired on. So tell us about your experience. I know we've had conversations about like you going to SI and kind of expecting something different than maybe what it really was.
Yeah. Like now on the other side of it, I'm like, when students say like, oh, I just came here for the answers, and we're like, girl, that's not us, but that was me. I was that student. And I remember I would literally send my SI leader like emails and being like, I missed class. Can I come to your session to like make up for it? And he would be like, no. But I like at the time I didn't understand it, but obviously on the backside you're like, okay, yeah, it totally makes sense of like why that wouldn't work. But yeah, so like my initial impression of SI was just like question and answers. Yeah.
And so, but that's, I mean, I think that's very common for a lot of even current SI leaders, or they don't go to SI because they don't find a need for it because they did well in the course. And so, I think with SI, it's like there's an educational aspect to it of like people don't know what SI is prior to coming to this campus, right? So the name itself can be misleading, supplemental instruction. We've had conversations about that as well. And then you really don't know until you kind of go and experience it, right? So if you walk out the door because, you know, questions and answers was not what you were getting and you don't give it another chance, then you kind of lose that. But yeah, so you were an SI leader. You started with
Poli-sci.
Poli-sci, yeah. So econ was not an option.
Yeah.
And Poli-sci too was. I remember even asking you because I remember your interview and I was like, oh, I want her on the team, but her first choice is not a course that.
Yeah, it was definitely not.
And so I remember I was like, I wonder if she's even gonna like take.
Yeah.
Poli-sci 2 as an option.
I think I definitely questioned it. Because I do remember my interview with you too. And I remember when you told me, you're like, okay, so here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's when you told me about poli-sci. And I don't know. It just like, there was nothing wrong with the class. I just like wasn't my favorite, honestly. Right. And like, obviously I wanted to do economics, which makes sense. But yeah, so I like questioned it. And honestly, I don't even know what like made me do it. But I was like, I think I was just like, okay, well, because you had told me like, okay, well, there's a possibility for other semesters that
to switch.
So then I was like, okay, well, I'll go in there and then hopefully I can switch. And then if not, then you know, I'll just reassess of like see if I want to stay there or not. Yeah. So then I took the gamble.
Yeah, and here you are. So
literally.
Speaking of, multiple semesters, you were with staff. You're paired with staff both of those semesters too. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about, because I know it's intimidating. Yeah. You know, everyone's like, oh, my mentor's so-and-so, my mentor's so-and-so. It's like, why is my mentor's name a staff member?
Yeah. Okay, so to be honest, I didn't realize at first. Okay. I literally remember this because it was the first time I had a conversation with Rainy. And then Rainy asked me, she's like, oh, well, who's your mentor? And then I was like, good question. Who is it? So, you know, like you go on the spreadsheet and I was like, Stephanie. And then I was like, who's Stephanie? And then she told me it was pro staff. And I was like, oh, okay. But like, honestly, like I really didn't understand what pro staff really was. Right. So then I wasn't like that nervous. Okay, good. No, I wasn't nervous. And then... So then I was like, okay. Also, Stephanie literally looks like she's still in college. So then I was like, yeah, like, it's fine. Yeah. So, like, I just wasn't... Yeah, I don't feel like there was, like, initially that. But then once I realized, like, oh, wow, like, this is your full-time job, girl. Like, I was like, okay, I have to set up my game a little bit. Yeah. But I honestly don't think I would have been the leader I would have... Or I was if I didn't have Stephanie. Because I think it was like a completely different like thing. Because I would like come to their office all the time. Yeah. Especially Stephanie. Like Stephanie, I was like literally in her office like all day long. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't have gone down with like a regular.
Yeah, that's like the I guess like the flip side to it, because a lot of people would probably prefer not to, just I guess comfort level. True. And I think once you actually do it, it's fine and anything. If anything, it's, you know, I think even as a staff member, I don't have groups now, but it's easier to build rapport with the leaders you're working with, like hands-on. And I think they get to see just the relatable side to you as well. But yeah, so, you know, you had 2 semesters and then you were invited to become a mentor. Yes. So... You know, what was that transition like for you? Because, you know, you are, technically Annalia's episode drops before this one, but you're the first experienced mentor on our podcast. So, you know, what's maybe the biggest differences that you saw in being an SI leader and then stepping out of that role and stepping into the mentor role? Right.
So, I feel like I did have like a better transition because the second semester, like me, Jenny, and Gio were with you, like in preparation. Right. To
it was kind of like it was already a conversation and something we were working towards.
Right. So it's like we all kind of already knew, like our like after our first semester, that it was going to happen. But like it was just like taking those steps to do it, and then like we were able to shadow the mentors that semester and like participate in facilitating trainings and things like that. So I felt like I had already gotten a taste of it, but then And like, literally I was going in like when my fall semester. So when I was a mentor, or when I first became a mentor, like I had all summer long to be like there for SI. And then like obviously the actual semester started like with leaders and things like that. But I think that summer honestly really did help me, because I feel like there was like a lot like that. Yeah, we were literally together like all day long for weeks.
Yeah.
So like I think that helped me. But I guess the actual transition, I'm like, let me think about it. This was kind of a while back. I think it was hard. Like, not like that the work was hard, because it's like you, at this point, like I know SI like the back of my hand. Like if somebody was to tell me about this, like, of course I can describe to you the whole program. But in that point, it was like, I felt like I low-key was just kind of like faking it until I made it. Because I was like, people would ask me things and then I would be like, and then I would say something and then I would go ask you guys. I'm like, wait, was that right? And you're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. So like, I think it was just like, I was second guessing myself. And then also just like knowing how to have a balance. This is like something I still like currently am working on. I feel like I'm getting a lot better this semester, actually.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Come up. But like my first semester, my like biggest difficulty was like having a balance of being like friendly, but then also being like stern enough that like, okay, like I am your mentor. Like you need to like, you know, like do like the tasks that I'm
There's an
asking.
accountability aspect to it, right?
Right. And especially like when I was paired with leaders that I was leaders with. So then I think that was weird for like both of us, of being like, wow, like we literally started together and like we were friends in office hours, and like now I'm the one that's like telling you like your checking for understanding is not there, you know? So it's like it was just like a completely different aspect of it. Yeah, and I also, I was like, I think I told you this. I was psychoanalyzing myself the other day, because I used to work retail, okay? So, like, retail is a whole different ballgame, Lord.
Yeah.
But I think I had, like, that type of, like, mindset. But, like, SI is, like, completely not like that at all, right? Like, you're not working with the general public. Like, you're working with people and, like, want to see them grow. Yeah. So it's not like, okay, I see you once, I check you out.
I'll never see you again. Or,
Right. So then that was, I think, what, like, I didn't have like the right like tools in that moment of being like, okay, like let's work together. Like, what is the best way for us to work together? Yeah,
there's definitely been a lot of self-reflection on your end. I think, you know, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details, but I know like we've had conversations about just like your first experience as a mentor, which you said was rough, you know. I think like you're talking about like the transition, the relationships with SI leaders that you were friends or, you know, kind of always overlapped with and as an SI leader. And then you transition, you decided not to come back before this semester. So you took a semester off.
Yes, I did.
And I think, you know, somebody steps away from the position, somebody else, you know, is able to come into that position. And so the team is very different than the team that you initially worked with. And I think that's an interesting like perspective for you to come in and like, it's not like, oh, I just return essentially kind of as things were. It was a whole new team. The program had some changes too. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was definitely different. Like not only for our team too, but like for like leaders in general, because like half the team I didn't know, you know, so, and they didn't know me, and like all of a sudden like I'm just a mentor. So then I was like, so you know, like, and I am like open about like what happened, things, just because it's like transparency is key. But like, and also I'm like not ashamed about like everything, but that so it was like, you know, like explaining them like, okay, this is why, like, you know, like I stepped away and like now I came back. But with their team, like they all knew too that first time I came back for mentor training over summer. So like they had already heard my aspect of it too. So then I like knew that they were understanding. Also at the time I had worked with two of the mentors as like when I was their mentor. Does that make sense? Right. And then, then like Joseph and Gurleen I had also already worked with too. Yeah.
So it was familiar people for the most part, but different roles, right?
Yeah.
And like it, you know, I don't want you to necessarily feel like you have to overshare.
Let me spill the beans.
But, you know, this is a long-awaited podcast episode. So,
So true.
I know we were talking, you know, there's a relatableness to why and like what made you get to the point of, I just can't continue. Because I think, like that can be true for a lot of folks that maybe, and sometimes maybe are at that point, but have a hard time accepting what that is.
Yeah. So one thing about me, and Nancy has known this because you've always told me, you're very self-aware, but you just don't want to deal with it right now. I'm like,
it's like the actions. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, so true. But, so what had happened is I was doing the internship, and then not only was that internship hard just because like my service area was literally from Porterville all the way to Fresno, so that whole semester I was like traveling. The office was in Visalia too, and I live in Fresno, so it's like either way I was like commuting. And first of all, no, literally I was like, I moved to Fresno so I didn't have to commute. Like I'm from Visalia, so I was like, wait, literally what is going on? So I would say with my parents either way, but like it was just a lot in general of like, it was my first semester as a junior, traveling everywhere and like going to all these events, and I felt like I was pretending to be somebody that I wasn't, honestly, when I was at this internship. Like, honestly, I was kind of scared. Like, I was scared of going outside and like, okay, wait, am I not portraying them the right way? And like, I just felt like I wasn't moving for myself anymore. Like, I was moving for them, which I know is like something that comes along, but like, I think it was just like a little too much for me. And then, so that was a lot. And then it was my first semester as a mentor. And then the team got smaller that semester. So it was like even more work for us. Yeah. And like we had to pick it up the load, which I was like totally fine doing.
We were down a staff member as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because my crew was on maternity leave. Yeah, literally. So like our team was so small, and we were like, okay, well, someone's gonna do it. So like we did.
Stretch very thin. Yeah.
Right. So like, I mean, we all picked up. Like it wasn't like, oh, like okay, one person did it. Like all of us were definitely on the struggle bus. So that was a lot. Like I had 3 groups that semester. Yeah. And like other people I observed too. So it was like a lot balancing all of that, my internship, and then on top of that, obviously my own coursework. Yeah. So that was just a lot, and I just got extremely overwhelmed. I like experienced like super bad burnout, which is something I still face. Like, I'm still trying to learn like new techniques of like how to be able to manage it, because you know I always just feel like I take on too much, and like I'm just not okay with just like sitting still, which is like in itself, you know, probably like okay, something to question. But it was especially that semester, like I literally had no time. Like my roommates literally, like they were like, I did not talk to you that whole semester because you were so mean. Like as soon as I would come home, I'm like, no one talked to me, no one look at me, I'm going to my room. And that attitude just like transpired everywhere of where I was going, and it wasn't even like I meant to, and I was like, that was just, I didn't feel like me. Like I was like, this is not me. Like I'm normally so like happy and bubbly and things like that, and it's like that's not who I'm portraying myself as. And then like outside forces too, you know, like different friendship growing out of them. It was just like a lot of external, you know, like there was just so much going on, and I like just couldn't handle it, and I was just like, okay, let me take a step back. And I was like, my mental health is more important than you know, job. And luckily I'm extremely grateful and blessed that my parents are helping me out through college. So it wasn't like it was like, okay, I can't eat if I don't work. So I'm glad that I had that, because if not, like I don't know what I would have done, to be honest.
But and I think a lot of, like I can look at a lot of leaders or students that they take on a lot, and you know, we've even this semester we've had a lot of people step away from the position because it's like my courses are slipping, and obviously we never want that. SI does require a lot, your courses require a lot, but I think it takes a lot of courage to, especially in a position like the mentor one, to recognize like you said, like I'm not okay. And sometimes people push through because of like a commitment or something, but it's like, if I'm here, like I'm not necessarily doing anything for, it's like you can't pour from an empty cup kind of thing.
Yeah, literally.
So,
and that's what I felt bad for. I felt bad for my leaders. Yeah. I like, it wasn't even like for me, because, you know, it's like, again, if I really wanted to check, like I could have stayed, and I know I would have, but like I just felt guilty that I wasn't giving what I would have thought I would have gave, because I wanted to be a mentor since my first semester as a leader.
Yeah.
So it's like what I had envisioned myself doing was not being translated. And I think that was what was discouraging for me too. Was like everybody, you know, was being like, oh my God, like my leader's doing so well. And like I'm helping them. And I'm like, what am I doing? You know? So I just felt like I wasn't helping them as much as I would have liked to. Yeah,
and that's definitely a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, literally.
But the comeback is real, right?
Literally.
So, you know, you've come back, and, you know, I think you've also seen how different, you know, when your mental health is better and you're managing things better, and, you know, coming back and contributing and really showing a very like a stronger version of a mentor, for sure. So kind of flipping the script a bit.
I'm scared.
No, it's the whole point of this podcast is getting to know you outside of SI as well. So we'll kind of, let's see, we'll go into some rapid fire questions. Okay. So what's your favorite thing to eat on campus? Or in Fresno?
I don't even know, man. I feel like every month it changes. I get like, what's called like hyperfixated on something.
Okay.
So but recently, recently though, like seafood boils. I've been for months now, like, and they are expensive. But I'll still be paying for it.
Okay. You can splurge on that. What's your favorite season of the year?
My favorite season is summer, because I'm a Leo.
So, dream vacation destination.
Greece, which I'm going to. So.
Nice. Okay. Favorite movie genre?
Comedy.
Who's your favorite artist?
SZA.
Say. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I feel like it would be like speed.
Okay. What's your spirit animal?
Oh wait, what are they? I always mess up their name. Wait, hold up. What is it called? A capybara. I feel like they're so cute.
What is your Starbucks or Dutch Bros order?
Okay, Starbucks, I get a ice shaken. Oh wait, no, brown sugar shaken espresso.
Okay.
It's really good.
Nice. Alrighty. Well, I know your episode was a little bit different just because, you know, given your experience as a mentor, but I appreciate your ability to open up and share your experiences and tell us a little bit more about yourself and maybe things that people wouldn't really necessarily know. So thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for listening.